sat alone in a dirty bar on the edge of the galaxy. The place smelled like cheap alcohol and engine oil. He was drinking something brown that burned his throat, but he did not care. He had been without work for 3 weeks, and his credits were running low. Was 32 years old. He had black hair cut short and a scar running down his left cheek. He used to be a soldier back on Earth, but that was a long time ago. Now he was just another human trying to survive in a universe that did not want him. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. Most alien species looked at humans the way humans looked at children playing with fire. Dangerous, unpredictable, primitive. Did not care what aliens thought. He just needed money. His communicator buzzed. He looked at the screen and saw a job offer. A trade delegation needed extra security for their visit to 7, a neutral space station. The pay was not great, but it was something. They were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still living in caves. They were tall and beautiful, with silver skin that changed colors like water under light. They rarely hired outsiders, especially humans. Accepted the job without thinking twice. 2 days later, he arrived at 7. The station was a massive ring floating in space, home to thousands of traders, travelers, and criminals. Had been here before. It was not a nice place, but it was not the worst either. He reported to the security office and received his assignment. He would guard a corridor near the quarters. Simple work. Stand there. Look tough. Make sure nobody caused trouble. The delegation arrived that afternoon. Watched from his post as they walked past. There were about 20 of them, all wearing flowing robes that seemed to glow from within. They moved like water, smooth and graceful. Their faces showed no emotion. At the center of the group was an older female with deep violet eyes. She carried herself like someone who had never been told no in her entire life. Guessed she was important, very important. The first 2 days were boring. Stood at his post for 8 hours, then returned to his small room to sleep. They ignored him completely, walking past as if he did not exist. He was fine with that. On the 3rd day, everything changed. It was late at night, and the corridor was empty. Was thinking about food when he heard soft footsteps coming from the wrong direction. He turned and saw a young female walking toward him. She was different from the others. Her silver skin had hints of blue, and her eyes were large and curious. She looked young, maybe the equivalent of 18 or 19 in human years. She was wearing a simple dress instead of formal robes. "You should not be here," said. The girl stopped and looked at him. She did not seem scared or surprised. Instead, she smiled. "I know," she said. Her voice was soft and musical. "But I was bored. The quarters are so quiet. Everyone is sleeping or meditating." Stared at her. He should report this. He should call his supervisor and let someone else handle it. But something about the girl made him hesitate. "What is your name?" she asked. "I am," she tilted her head, studying him. "You are human." "Yes." "I have never talked to a human before." "Not really." She took a step closer. "Is it true that humans eat the flesh of other creatures?" Blinked. "You mean meat?" "Yes, we eat meat." "Fascinating." Eyes grew wider. "And is it true that humans only live for about 80 years? Some live longer, some live shorter." "That is so sad," shook her head slowly. "We live for thousands of years. I cannot imagine having so little time." Did not know what to say. He had never thought of his as sad before. It was just life. "You should go back to your quarters, Your Highness," he said. Laughed. It was a bright, surprised sound. "How did you know I was royalty?" Lucky guess. Actually, he had noticed the small silver crown woven into her hair. He was trained to notice details. "Please do not tell anyone I was here," said. Her voice became serious. "My mother would be very angry. She thinks humans are dangerous." "Your mother?" "Queen Sara. She rules the empire." felt his stomach drop. He was talking to a princess. The daughter of one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy was standing in front of him in a restricted corridor in the middle of the night. He should definitely report this. But when he looked at, he did not see a princess. He saw a young girl who was lonely and curious. He remembered being young once, trapped in places he did not want to be, dreaming of something more. "I will walk you back," Sid, "and I will not tell anyone." His face lit up. "Thank you." They walked together through the quiet corridors, asked him questions the entire way. What was Earth like? Did humans really fight wars against each other? What was snow? What was pizza? What did music sound like? Answered as best as he could. He found himself smiling, something he had not done in a long time. When they reached the quarters, turned to him. "Will I see you again?" she asked. "I will be at my post tomorrow." She smiled that bright smile again. "Then I will come find you." She disappeared through the door and walked back to his post alone. He did not know it yet, but his life had just changed forever. A simple job, a chance meeting, a princess who asked too many questions. This was only the beginning. The next few days passed quickly. Every night after the other went to sleep, Princess would sneak out to visit at his post. They would talk for hours about everything and nothing. Was fascinated by humans. She wanted to know about their history, their food, their strange customs. Told her about Korea, the country where he was born. He told her about the mountains and the rivers and the way the cherry blossoms fell like pink snow in spring. In return, told him about her world. There was a planet of endless oceans and floating cities. They had no wars, no hunger, no crime. It sounded like paradise, but said it was also very boring. "Everyone follows the rules," she said. "Everyone knows their place. There are no surprises." "That does not sound so bad," said. "It is terrible," replied. "I want adventure. I want to see strange places and meet strange people. I want to feel alive." Understood. He had felt the same way when he was young. That was why he had joined the military. That was why he had left Earth. On the 7th day of the delegation's visit, there was a diplomatic dinner. All the important people on the station were invited. Was not important, so he was given the night off. He went back to his small room and tried to sleep, but something felt wrong. There was a strange feeling in his chest, like the air before a storm. He could not explain it, but he had learned to trust his instincts. An hour after midnight, the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Emergency announcements blared from every speaker. There was an attack. Pirates had boarded the station. Grabbed his weapon and ran. The station was chaos. People were running everywhere, screaming and crying, pushed through the crowd, moving toward the quarters. He did not know why. It was not his job. He was off duty, but he could not stop thinking about. He heard gunfire ahead, then screams. He ran faster. The corridor outside the quarters was a battlefield. Bodies lay on the ground, both pirates and guards. The attackers had come in force, at least 30 of them. They wore black armor and carried heavy weapons. This was not a random attack. This was planned. Moved through the chaos, staying low and quiet. His military training took over. He was not thinking anymore. He was just moving, reacting, surviving. He found in a service corridor near the back of the quarters. She was hiding behind a broken pipe, her silver skin pale with fear. 3 pirates were closing in on her, their weapons raised. "The princess," one of them said. "Grab her, she is worth a fortune." Did not hesitate. He came out of the shadows like a ghost. His first shot hit the nearest pirate in the back of the head. The man fell without a sound. The other 2 turned, surprised, but was already moving. The second pirate raised his weapon but was faster. He grabbed the man's arm and twisted it hard. The bone snapped with a loud crack. The pirate screamed and dropped his gun, silenced him with a quick strike to the throat. The third pirate was smarter. He pulled out a knife and slashed its side. The blade cut deep, slicing through skin and muscle. Pain exploded through his body, but he did not stop. He could not stop. He caught the pirate's wrist, twisted the knife away, and drove it into the man's chest. The pirate looked at him with wide eyes, then fell. Stood there breathing hard. Blood was running down his side, soaking his shirt. His shoulder was burned from a plasma shot he barely remembered taking. Everything hurt. Stared at him with huge, frightened eyes. She whispered, "You are hurt." "I am fine," he lied. "We need to move." He took her hand and pulled her down the corridor. Behind them he could hear more pirates shouting. They had noticed their missing team. They would come looking soon. For the next 6 hours led through the station's maintenance tunnels. He knew these paths from his security training. They were dark and cramped and smelled like rust and old water, but they were safe. Did not complain. She followed him in silence, her hand gripping his tightly. Sometimes had to stop and lean against the wall, fighting the darkness that crept at the edges of his vision. He was losing too much blood. He knew he was dying, but he could not stop. Not yet. "Why are you doing this?" asked during one of their brief rests. "You could have escaped alone. You could have left me." Looked at her. Even in the dim light of the tunnel, she was beautiful. Strange and alien, but beautiful. "Because you were scared," he said. "Because you were alone, that is all that matters." His eyes filled with tears. "You are a strange human." "I have been told that before." They kept moving. Finally, after what felt like forever, they reached a secure area. Soldiers were there, searching for the princess. When they saw, they rushed forward with relief. Tried to hand her over safely, but his legs gave out. He fell to his knees, then collapsed on the cold metal floor. The last thing he saw was face above him, tears streaming down her silver cheeks. "Help him," she screamed. "Please, you have to help him." Then everything went dark. Woke up slowly. His body felt heavy and strange, like he was floating in warm water. He tried to open his eyes, but the light was too bright. Everything was blurry and white. Slowly, the world came into focus. He was lying in a bed, but it was not like any bed he had seen before. It seemed to be made of light itself, soft and glowing. The walls around him pulsed with gentle colors, blue and green and purple, moving like living things. This was not a human medical bay. This was something else entirely. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. He groaned and fell back against the bed. His side was wrapped in strange bandages that glowed faintly. His shoulder was covered in something that looked like liquid silver. "You should not move yet." The voice came from the shadows at the edge of the room, turned his head and saw a figure standing there. As the figure stepped forward, his breath caught in his throat. It was Queen Sara. She was taller than he remembered, at least 7 feet. Her silver skin glowed with an inner light, and her violet eyes seemed to see right through him. She wore a flowing gown that moved like smoke around her body. She was beautiful in a way that was almost frightening, like a thunderstorm or a mountain or the endless darkness of space. Tried to speak, but his mouth was too dry. "You have been unconscious for 3 days," the queen said. She walked closer, her footsteps making no sound. "Our healers were not sure if you would survive. Human bodies are fragile." The princess managed to say, "Is she safe?" The queen stopped. Something flickered in her eyes, too fast for to read. "My daughter is safe because of you." Nodded and closed his eyes. Relief washed over him like a wave. He had done it. Somehow he had done it. "I have watched the security recordings," the queen continued. "I have seen what you did. You were off duty when the attack began. You had no obligation to my daughter, yet you ran toward danger while others ran away." Said nothing. He did not know what to say. "You killed 3 men with your bare hands while bleeding to death. You carried my daughter through tunnels for 6 hours without rest. When my soldiers found you, you were positioned between her and the door, ready to fight even though you could barely stand." The queen sat down on the edge of the bed. This close could smell her perfume, something like flowers and starlight. It made his head spin. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why did you do this?" Opened his eyes and looked at her. For a moment, he did not see a queen. He saw a mother who had almost lost her child. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said. "She was scared. She was alone. I could not leave her." Many would have. Many did. The station had 200 security personnel. You were the only one who came for her. Thought about this. He remembered the chaos, the screaming, the fear. He remembered seeing people running in the wrong direction, away from the quarters. He had not judged them then, and he did not judge them now. "Fear is powerful," he said. "I understand fear. But you acted anyway." "Yes." The queen was silent for a long moment. Her violet eyes studied his face, searching for something. Did not know what she wanted to find. "Among my people," she finally said, "such a debt is sacred. You have saved the life of a royal heir. This is not a small thing. This is not something that can be repaid with credits or gifts." "I do not want payment," said. "I did not do it for money." "I know," the queen smiled, and for a moment she looked almost human. "That is what makes you different. That is what makes you interesting." She stood up and walked to the window. Through the glass could see stars stretching into infinity. He realized they were not on the station anymore. They were on a ship. A ship. "My daughter has told me about your conversations," the queen said without turning around. "She says you are kind, funny, honest. She says you treated her like a person, not a princess." "She is a person," said. "A person who asks too many questions." The queen laughed. It was a surprising sound, warm and genuine. "Yes, she does." She turned back to face him. "My daughter has not smiled in many years. Our world is old and serious and tired. We have forgotten how to feel joy. But since meeting you has been different, lighter, happier." Did not know what to say. He felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, about to fall into something he did not understand. "You have placed the empire in your debt," the queen said. Her voice was formal now, the voice of a ruler. "And I do not take debts lightly. When you are healed, we will speak again. There is much to discuss." She walked toward the door, then stopped and looked back at him. "Rest now, human. You have earned it." Then she was gone, leaving alone with his thoughts and the endless stars outside his window. He lay there for a long time, staring at the ceiling. He thought about his life, about all the choices that had led him to this moment. He thought about Earth, a planet he had not seen in 5 years. He thought about the empty apartments and the lonely nights and the jobs that never meant anything. And he thought about a princess from another world who asked too many questions and smiled like the sun. Something was coming, something was about to change. Did not know if he was ready, but for the first time in a very long time, he was not afraid. 2 weeks passed on the flagship. Spent most of that time in the medical bay, healing from his wounds. The healers were amazed by how fast he recovered. Humans, they said, were supposed to be fragile, but his body seemed to fight back against death with a stubbornness that surprised everyone. Princess visited him every day. She brought him strange foods from the ship's kitchen and told him stories about her childhood. She taught him words in the language, laughing when he pronounced them wrong. He taught her card games from Earth, and she beat him almost every time. "You are cheating," said after losing his 5th game in a row. "I am not cheating," replied with a smile. "I am simply smarter than you." "That is the same thing." Laughed, and the sound filled the room like music. Found himself smiling too. It was strange. He had not smiled this much in years. As healed, he noticed changes on the ship. The crew, who had ignored him at first, started to treat him differently. They nodded at him in the corridors. They made space for him in the dining hall. Some of them even tried to speak to him in broken human language. He asked about it one day. "They have seen the recordings," she said. "Everyone on the ship has seen what you did. You are famous now, the human who saved the princess. I do not want to be famous. Too late, grinned. You are a hero, you will have to accept it. Shook his head, but he could not hide his smile. Finally, after 2 weeks, the healers declared him fully recovered. His wounds had closed, leaving only faint scars. His strength had returned. He was ready to leave. But leave to where? He had no home, no job, no purpose. That afternoon, a messenger came to his room. Queen Sara wanted to see him, immediately. Put on the cleanest clothes he had and followed the messenger through the ship. They walked through corridors of flowing light, past gardens of glowing plants, past windows that showed the endless beauty of space. The ship was like a living thing, breathing and humming with energy. Finally, they reached the throne room. Had never seen anything like it. The room was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. Water flowed down the walls in shimmering curtains. The ceiling was made of glass, showing the stars above. And in the center of it all, on a throne that seemed to grow from the floor itself, sat Queen Sara. Around her stood dozens of nobles, their silver faces watching with curious eyes. He felt like an insect under a microscope. Small, strange, out of place. He walked forward until he stood before the throne. Then he bowed. The queen said, her voice echoed through the hall, "You have recovered." "Yes, your majesty, thanks to your healers. Thanks to your own strength." The queen rose from her throne and walked down the steps toward him. "My healers say they have never seen a human heal so quickly. They say you have the body of a warrior and the will of a king." Did not know what to say, so he said nothing. The queen stopped in front of him. She was so close he could see the patterns in her violet eyes, swirling like galaxies. "I have thought long about what to do with you," she said. "You have saved my daughter's life. You have shown courage that even my own guards could not match. You have earned the respect of my people, something that no human has ever done." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I could give you credits, enough to live comfortably for the rest of your human life. I could give you a ship, a home, anything you desire." She tilted her head, studying his face. "But I do not think that is what you want." "What do I want?" asked. "You want purpose. You want to belong somewhere. You want to feel alive." Felt his heart beating faster. She was right. She had seen through him completely. "I offer you something that has not been offered to an outsider in 10,000 years, the queen said. "A place among us, not as a servant, not as a hired guard, but as the official protector of the royal bloodline. You would live in our palace. You would be treated as family. You would have purpose and honor and respect." Murmurs spread through the assembled nobles. Some looked shocked, some looked angry, but the queen silenced them with a single look. "This is your choice. You can take your rewards and return to your human life. No one will think less of you." She extended her hand toward him. "Or you can stay, forever." Looked at her hand. Then he looked past her, at standing beside the throne. The princess was watching him with shining eyes, her hands clasped together in hope. He thought about his empty apartment, his lonely life, the years stretching ahead with nothing to fill them. Then he thought about Slav, the queen's respect, the crew members who had started to treat him like one of their own. He had spent his whole life searching for something, a place to belong, a reason to exist. Maybe he had finally found it. "There is something I need to tell you first," said. "I am human. I am not going to live for thousands of years. I will grow old. I will slow down. Eventually I will die, long before any of you." The queen smiled, and there was something warm in her eyes, something almost like affection. "I know," she said. "We will discuss that later. For now, I only need to know one thing." She leaned closer. "Will you stay?" Took a deep breath. The whole room was watching. The whole galaxy seemed to hold its breath. "Yes," he said, "I will stay." Made a sound that was half laugh, half cry. The nobles began to whisper among themselves, and Queen Sora smiled the widest smile had ever seen. Then welcome to the family, welcome home. The ceremony lasted for 3 hours. Stood before the throne while priests in flowing robes spoke words in ancient. They painted symbols on his hands with glowing ink. They placed a silver band around his wrist, marking him as a member of the royal household. Through it all felt like he was dreaming. This could not be real. Things like this did not happen to people like him. But when ran to hug him after the ceremony, laughing and crying at the same time, he knew it was real. When the nobles bowed to him as he passed, he knew it was real. When Queen Sora placed her hand on his shoulder and called him family, he knew his life had changed forever. That night there was a feast in his honor. Sat at the high table beside the queen and the princess, eating food that tasted like nothing he had ever experienced. The around him laughed and talked and celebrated. For the first time, they did not treat him like an outsider. They treated him like one of their own. After the feast, Queen Sora asked to walk with her through the ship's gardens. The gardens were beautiful, filled with flowers that glowed like stars and trees that sang soft melodies when the wind touched them. "You seem troubled," the queen said as they walked. Nodded slowly. "I am grateful for everything you have given me, but I cannot stop thinking about what I said before. I am human. My life is short compared to yours." Ah, the queen stopped beside a fountain of liquid light. "Yes, we should discuss this." She reached into her robes and pulled out a small vial. Inside was a liquid that glowed with soft blue light, swirling like a tiny galaxy. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. "No." "It is called the gift of continuance. It is very rare, very precious. In 10,000 years it has only been given to a handful of beings." Stared at the vial, his heart was beating faster. "What does it do?" "It extends life." The queen held up the vial, watching the light dance inside. "It will not make you. You will still be human. But instead of 80 years, you could live for 800, perhaps longer if your body accepts it well." Felt dizzy. 800 years. It was impossible to imagine. "Why would you give this to me?" he asked. "Because my daughter cares for you, because you have earned your place among us, because I believe you deserve more than a short human life." The queen looked at him with those deep violet eyes. "And because I want you to stay, not for a few decades, forever." Reached out and took the vial. It was warm in his hand, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. "What if I refuse?" he asked. "Then you live your human life. You grow old, you die, and we mourn you." The queen's voice was soft. "But the choice is yours. It has always been yours." Looked at the vial for a long moment. He thought about Earth. He thought about his parents who had died years ago. He thought about the friends he had lost touch with, the life he had left behind. Then he thought about the way she laughed at his jokes, about the way she looked at him like he was something special, about the way she made him feel alive for the first time in years. He thought about the queen, about her strength and her kindness and her strange, unexpected warmth. He thought about the future, not 80 years but 800, centuries of life, centuries of purpose, centuries of belonging somewhere. He uncorked the vial and drank. The liquid was cold going down, then hot, then cold again. It spread through his body like fire and ice, touching every cell, every bone, every drop of blood. For a moment he could not breathe. For a moment he thought he was dying. Then the feeling passed and he felt something new, something different, like his body had woken up from a long sleep. Queen Sora smiled. "It is done." Looked at his hands. They looked the same. He felt the same, but somehow everything was different. "Thank you," he said. The words felt small compared to what he was feeling. "Do not thank me yet." The queen began walking again and followed. "You have a long life ahead of you now. Much will happen. Some of it will be wonderful. Some of it will be painful. Are you ready for that?" Thought about the question. He had spent so many years just surviving, just getting through each day. He had never thought about the future because he did not believe he had one. Now he had centuries ahead of him, centuries to learn, to grow, to love, to protect. "Yes," he said, "I am ready." They walked back to the celebration together. Was waiting for them, her face bright with hope. "Well," she asked, "did you take it?" Smiled at her, "I took it." Threw her arms around him, hugging him so tightly he could barely breathe. Over her shoulder, he saw Queen Sora watching them with soft eyes. "Welcome to forever," whispered in his ear. Years later, travelers passing through space would hear stories about the Queen's shadow. They said he was a human who had stood against an army to save a princess. They said he had earned the love of an empire with nothing but courage and kindness. They said he walked beside the throne, trusted by the Queen herself. Some said he was a legend. Some said he was just a story. But those who knew him knew the truth, was real, he was human, and he had found something most people never find. He had found a home. When asked why he stayed, he would smile and shake his head. "She asked," he would say, "and for the first time in my life I had a reason to say yes." And in his heart he knew the real answer. He had been alone his whole life, searching for meaning, searching for belonging, searching for someone who would look at him and see something worth keeping. He had found all of that among the stars. He had found forever.